You are seeing this because you are finally ready to protect your power. This is not a coincidence. Your presence here, right now, indicates that your unconscious has recognized a pattern of energy loss, a pattern of power leakage, a pattern of self-sabotage through revelation. I have discovered throughout my work that before a major breakthrough in personal sovereignty, the psyche emits specific signals. These signals warn you that you have been giving your power away through speech, that you have been diluting your potency through premature disclosure, that you have been inviting sabotage through unnecessary revelation. Most people miss these signals entirely. They stay stuck in patterns of energetic depletion, wondering why their dreams never manifest, why their goals constantly fail, why the universe seems to work against them every time they speak their intentions aloud. They do not understand that words are not just communication. Words are magical acts. They are psychic commitments that reorganize reality. And certain truths, when spoken to the wrong consciousness at the wrong time, drain your power completely. Right now, in this exact moment, you are standing at the gateway between unconscious self-betrayal and conscious self-protection. Here is what terrifies most people about keeping sacred silence. It is not the fear of isolation. It is not the fear of being misunderstood. It is the fear of their own power. I have discovered something I call the vulnerability paradox. We confuse openness with weakness. We mistake disclosure for connection. We believe that sharing everything makes us authentic when it actually makes us defenseless. Why? Because revealing your deepest self to unconscious people is not intimacy. It is self-destruction. When you speak your sacred intentions, your developing dreams, your transformative insights to people who are not ready to receive them, you invite their unconscious resistance into your psychic field. Their doubts become your doubts. Their fears become your obstacles. Their limitations become your ceiling. You absorb their energetic rejection and call it reality. When you keep sacred silence, you can no longer blame others for not believing in you. You can no longer use their skepticism as an excuse for your own failure. You become solely responsible for the protection and manifestation of your vision. And that terrifies people more than staying exposed and powerless ever could. Before we go deeper, you need to understand why you have been compulsively revealing what should remain hidden. It is not because you are trusting. It is not because you are open-hearted. It is not because you value authenticity. You have been addicted to premature disclosure because disclosure gives you the illusion of progress without requiring actual transformation. When you tell people about your plans, your brain releases the same neurochemical reward as actually completing them. You get the dopamine hit of achievement without doing the work. Your brain interprets sharing as doing, so it stops you from actually doing. This is not metaphysical speculation. This is documented neuroscience. Every time you speak an intention before manifesting it, you reduce the psychological pressure needed to achieve it. I have spent decades studying this pattern. I watched patients approach their greatest transformations only to sabotage them through premature revelation. They would conceive a powerful vision and immediately tell everyone about it. Within weeks, the vision would dissolve, the energy would dissipate, the possibility would collapse. One patient decided to leave a toxic relationship. Before taking any action, they told their entire social circle. Their friends, most of whom were also in toxic relationships, convinced them to stay. They shared their liberation and lost it. Another received clarity about a major career change. They announced it at a family gathering. Their family, invested in their current identity, planted seeds of doubt. They spoke their transformation and watched it die. A third experienced a spiritual awakening. They tried to explain it to skeptical friends. The friends mocked them. The patient began doubting their own experience. They revealed their truth, and it became contaminated. I realized this was not weakness. This was the psyche seeking validation from external sources because it had not yet validated itself. This was the unconscious testing whether the transformation was real by exposing it to hostile forces. Because transformation means death, not physical death, psychological death, the death of the self that needs external approval to know what is true. Right now, your psyche is preparing for that death. It is teaching you that your inner truth does not require external validation, that your power grows in silence, that your transformation happens in the unseen. There are specific signs that reveal when you are ready to embrace sacred silence. The first sign is psychic exhaustion. This is the Greek concept of kenosis, the emptying. You feel drained after certain conversations, even when nothing overtly negative was said. You notice that sharing your dreams with particular people leaves you feeling deflated, doubtful, or disconnected from your own knowing. Most people interpret this as social anxiety or introversion. They think something is wrong with them for feeling depleted by connection. I understand this differently. This is your unconscious recognizing energetic vampirism. When you share sacred information with unconscious people, they cannot integrate it, so they reject it. And you feel that rejection in your body as exhaustion. This is not depression. This is discernment. Your psyche is learning to distinguish between consciousness that elevates your truth and consciousness that diminishes it. Second, the loss of interest in validation seeking. Things that used to satisfy you, like approval, recognition, being understood, suddenly feel empty. People you used to need acknowledgement from suddenly feel unbearable to explain yourself to. This is the psyche withdrawing energy from external validation and redirecting it toward internal authority. Your unconscious is already moving towards self-sovereignty. But your conscious mind has not caught up yet, so you feel isolated, misunderstood, like you are keeping secrets when you are actually protecting sacred ground. This restlessness is not loneliness, it is the birth of discernment. Third, the pressure cooker feeling. You sense something building inside you, a knowing, a vision, a truth that feels too potent to speak. You feel it in your body, your sleep changes, your social tolerance decreases. You feel simultaneously protective and powerful. This is your psyche generating the psychological container needed to hold transformation without leaking it. This is your unconscious teaching you that power concentrates in silence and disperses in speech. Most people try to relieve this pressure by talking. They confess their visions, they announce their plans, they seek reassurance. But that only delays the inevitable. The pressure will keep building until you learn to channel it into action instead of dissipating it through words. Here is where it gets dangerous. When you are close to a major breakthrough, the compulsion to reveal everything becomes overwhelming. I have documented this pattern across hundreds of cases. Right before major transformations, people unconsciously sabotage themselves through disclosure. They tell the wrong people at the wrong time about the right things. Think about the last time you had a powerful insight, a clear vision, a moment of deep knowing. What happened? Did you immediately text someone about it? Did you post about it on social media? Did you explain it to someone who had no context to understand it? These are not random impulses. These are your psyche testing whether you have developed the internal authority to hold your own truth without external validation. Did you feel the need to prove your experience was real by getting someone else to confirm it? Did you dilute your power by seeking permission from people who cannot give it? Did you leak your energy by casting pearls before swine? These are not random events. These are your unconscious trying to protect you from the terror of your own sovereignty. Because when you stop seeking validation, you can no longer blame others for not believing in you. You must become the sole authority on your own truth. And that feels more dangerous than staying dependent on external approval. But here is the truth. Protecting your power through sacred silence is not about secrecy. It is not about isolation. It is not about being mysterious for the sake of image. Sacred silence is about energetic integrity. It is about stopping the hemorrhaging of your life force through unconscious speech. I discovered that people do not fail to manifest their visions because they lack ability. They fail because they cannot tolerate the psychological reality of holding power in silence. They cannot handle the loneliness of being the only witness to their own transformation. They cannot handle the responsibility of being their own authority. They cannot handle the discipline of containing energy instead of dissipating it, so they sabotage themselves. They create the familiar pattern of seeking validation. They confirm their identity as someone who needs others to tell them what is real, what is possible, what is true. This identity feels safe. It feels connected. It feels humble, even when that humility is actually self-betrayal. Right now you are being asked to burn that identity down, to step out of the consciousness that needs external confirmation and into the consciousness that knows its own truth. This is terrifying because the sovereign self has no script. You do not know how to be that person yet. Your nervous system does not recognize that frequency, so it feels arrogant, isolated, wrong. But you are not becoming someone new. You are becoming who you actually are beneath all the conditioning to seek approval, to explain yourself, to prove your worth through disclosure. The sovereign self is your true self. The approval-seeking self is the mask you wore to survive a world that punished independent knowing. This is the collective unconscious pressure. When you stop sharing everything, when you begin to hold your power in sacred silence, the collective unconscious pushes back. It uses guilt. It calls you secretive. It accuses you of being closed off, inauthentic, unwilling to be vulnerable. It shames you for not explaining yourself. Because when one person stops seeking validation, it threatens everyone else who still needs it. Your silence becomes a mirror that shows them their own dependence on external approval. This is why sacred silence feels lonely at first. When you step into sovereignty, you step out of the collective agreement to constantly explain, justify, and prove yourself. People who are comfortable with your self-revelation become uncomfortable with your self-containment. They liked you better when you needed their validation. They preferred you when you were seeking their approval. Your silence challenges their belief that connection requires confession. They may withdraw. They may pressure you to share. They may accuse you of changing, and they are right. You have changed. You must change. When you individuate, you will lose people. You must lose people, because those relationships were built on your false self. They cannot survive your transformation into someone who does not need external validation to know what is true. And that is not tragedy. That is liberation. You do not need to become someone different. You need to stop betraying yourself by revealing what should remain protected until it is fully formed. The way forward. First, you must recognize your addiction to premature disclosure. You must see how you have been unconsciously leaking power through unnecessary revelation. Observe yourself without judgment. Notice when you feel compelled to share. Ask yourself, am I seeking validation or offering value? Am I testing my truth on others or standing in it myself? This awareness will show you that most of your sharing is not generosity. It is seeking permission for your own experience. Second, you must integrate your power shadow. Reclaim the authority and sovereignty you have been hiding behind false humility and excessive openness. Admit that you have been seeking approval, not because you value connection, but because you fear standing alone in your own knowing. Stop apologizing for your silence. Stop explaining why you are not sharing. Your inner world does not require external justification. Third, you must grieve the approval-seeking identity. You must let it die, not with shame, but with compassion. That identity kept you connected when you were not strong enough to stand alone. But it has outlived its usefulness. Now it is a prison. And you must walk out of it, even though leaving means some people will not understand you anymore. Fourth, you must claim the sovereign identity before you feel ready. You must start being the person who holds their own counsel before you have proof it works. This means making choices to remain silent even when every part of you wants to share. You cannot wait until you feel secure in your knowing to stop seeking validation. You create security through the practice of self-trust. Fifth, you must protect your transformation from collective pressure. When you start holding sacred silence, others will try to extract information from you. They will use curiosity as manipulation. They will accuse you of being distant. You must learn to discern between genuine connection and energetic extraction. You must value your sovereignty more than the comfort of explaining yourself. Sixth, you must learn to tolerate power without dissipating it through speech. When your nervous system panics because silence feels unfamiliar, you must train it to recognize containment as strength, not isolation. Every time you feel the urge to share prematurely, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, does this sharing serve my manifestation or sabotage it? Am I offering wisdom or seeking validation? Seventh, understand that sacred silence is not a destination. It is a practice. You practice discernment daily. You practice energetic integrity. You practice being your own authority instead of constantly seeking external confirmation. The 7 things you should never tell anyone are these: your dreams before they manifest, your plans before they are in motion, your visions before they are grounded, your spiritual experiences to skeptics, your intimate truths to unconscious minds, your deep pain to those who cannot hold it, your awakening to those still asleep. These are not secrets, these are sacred. And the sacred requires protection until it is strong enough to stand in the light without being diminished. This is your turn, not because the universe suddenly decided to teach you, but because you are finally ready to stop betraying yourself through unconscious revelation. You are finally done with the approval-seeking identity. You are finally done with diluting your power through premature disclosure. The signs are already appearing: the exhaustion after certain conversations, the loss of interest in explaining yourself, the pressure to contain rather than reveal. These are not random. These are your psyche preparing for sovereignty. I have always believed that people who successfully complete this process become individuated. They are no longer slaves to external validation. They hold their power in sacred silence because they are psychologically aligned with self-authority. They do not share less because they are secretive. They share less because they have learned that their power concentrates in silence and disperses in premature speech. Here is what you must do. Acknowledge your unconscious pattern of power leakage through speech without judgment. See how you have been seeking validation instead of standing in knowing. Decide that premature disclosure is no longer acceptable. Declare that the approval-seeking identity no longer serves you. Identify one thing you have been sharing that needs to return to sacred silence. One dream, one plan, one truth. Contain it this very day. Expect resistance, not as evidence of failure, but as evidence of transformation. When the urge to share rises, recognize it as the death throes of your dependent self. Find allies who understand sacred silence. Seek those who do not pressure you to explain, justify, or prove yourself. Commit to the daily practice of discernment. Every potential disclosure is either an offering of wisdom or a leaking of power. Choose consciously. Ask yourself, what would the sovereign version of me do? Hold that, protect that, honor that, especially when it feels lonely. because that is how you bridge the gap. You act as if you are already your own authority until you become it. You are standing at the gateway. The choice is yours. You can return to the familiar pattern of seeking validation through disclosure and pretend you did not hear these truths. Or you can step through the gateway and become someone who knows their own truth without needing others to confirm it. When you protect your power through sacred silence, you do not just change your own life, you change the consciousness of everyone around you. Your sovereignty gives others permission to stop explaining themselves. Your silence proves that power does not require constant validation. You are finally ready to stop betraying yourself through unconscious speech. You are finally choosing sovereignty over approval, and that choice changes everything. Welcome to the beginning of who you were always meant to be.